Hi children, good morning. This is Samina ma'am back to you again with social studies. Before I start with my lesson, how are you all children? What are you all up to at home? Are you really spending your time constructively, or are you really like kind of full time watching TV, or just playing games or something like that? Please do not spoil your time. This is kind of a constructive time. Please do learn as much as you could, okay children, because this time you're not going to come to school. You're just going to get into the digital era of education, isn't it children? All these days we were kind of using the mobile phones or the laptops or the desktops for games, or just maybe to just check for some Google content or something like that. But nowadays, like, we have started preparing for a lesson through this online mode, isn't it children? So get yourselves prepared, and whenever you're going to start with your classes, I request you all to keep your writing materials also ready, okay? Because if you have any doubts or clarifications, you could just pen it down and you could post your questions when I come for the next session, okay? You could just post me or pin me in WhatsApp also to ask for some clarifications if you have any. You will have only if you go through the complete lesson. Okay children, please do spend time kind of constructively at home, not to waste much of your time at this particular time, okay? Please do relax yourselves and study as and when you're required to do so, okay? Do not expect any external force like mommy or daddy forcing you to study. No, we have grown up, isn't it? We all are grown up now. You are the role models for till grade 6 children, so please do concentrate in academics also, okay children? Okay, fine. Before I get back with my next history lesson, let me just tell you about the medieval world, okay? We had already learned the lesson medieval world, isn't it children? Yes. How many of you all remember what is medieval world? What does this word medieval means? The word medieval means middle, okay? Medieval means middle. So this medieval period stretched from the beginning of the 8th century to the end of the 18th century. So for nearly about 1100 years. How many years children? 1100 years. What is the beginning of the medieval period? It is 8th century. What is the end of the medieval period children? It is 18th century. For nearly about 1100 years, okay? In this particular medieval period, there were a lot of changes which were happening. What were they? They were kind of societal changes, economy change, the polity change, religion, then culture. All these underwent a lot of changes, okay? So this 18th century was kind of witnessing more changes, okay? So this particular medieval period was divided into two, that is early medieval period and the late medieval period, okay? The early medieval period stretched from the 8th to 13th century. So please do remember children, it stretched from 8th to 13th century, and the late medieval period was from 13th century to 18th century, okay? Let's see the powerful ruling dynasties, okay? They are the Pallas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas and Rajputs. I'll stress again children, the Pallas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas and Rajputs were the powerful ruling dynasties during the medieval period. We are going to go in detail about these dynasties in our next lesson. That is why I am quickly giving you a recap of the medieval world. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand. Okay, please do concentrate children. What were the ruling dynasties? The Pallas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas and the Rajputs. Okay. The late medieval period, as I told you, it stretched from 13th century to 18th century. So who are the rulers over there? They are the rule of Turks, Afghans and Mughals. Okay, fine. Okay, let's see. Now as we call India, India is our country's name, isn't it? But in olden days, India had lot of names. Like for example, Bharat, still, like even till now we say Bharat, India or Hindustan. Okay, but in the olden days, it was being named as Bharat Varsha and Jambu Dvipa. Okay, Bharat Varsha and Jambu Vipa. Please do concentrate on the spelling children. Bharat Varsha. Okay, Jambud Vipa, not VIPA, it is WIPA, were the two earliest names which was given for the ancient India, that is the old India. Okay, India was also known as the land of people, okay, who lived in the river Sindhu. Okay, you would have definitely heard this name, isn't it, children? So, people were living in the river Sindhu. Okay, the Sanskrit word Sindhu was pronounced as Hindu in Old Persian. Could you see the rhyming word, children? Sindhu, Hindu. Okay, it was pronounced as Hindu in Old Persian. The Sindhu word is the Sanskrit word. Okay, fine. So, and Hindu in French means Inde. Okay, that is Anthe, Anthe. This word in English was known as India. You got it, children? Now, what were the different names of India? Fine, very good. Quickly, could you tell me what were the two different names, children? Bharatvarsha and Jambud Vibha. Very good. Okay, fine. Now, let's see the major historical developments. Okay, after the coming over of Muslims, that led to lot of trade development. Why only trade development? Because of the mixed culture. Okay, there was an interaction between the north and the south, and between the Hindus and the Muslims. So there was kind of the cultural exchanges which happened between Hindu and Muslim, that in turn increased the trade. Okay, and there was a rapid growth of towns and cities. And next point is the trade led to a greater interaction between people from different parts of the world. Okay, because of the trade, like lot of people started coming to the other countries for their business. Okay, so India borrowed many things from the other cultures of other countries. So now you know, right, like our traditional wear is sari and dhoti, but now we have become so very modernized that we used to wear jeans and kind of even salwar kameez and all those things. Okay, so they were kind of these were the other people's culture, like wearing jean and salwar kameez and all that, but like we had kind of taken over their culture also. So during medieval period, Islam spread over India. Okay, the Bhakti and the Sufi movement. Bhakti and the Sufi movement. What is this Bhakti and Sufi movement spread? It spread the message of devotion to God and kindness towards all human beings. Okay, which is very much required, isn't it, children? That's one. It's one of the important value which you should show a lot of kindness, not only for human beings, even to the animals. Right? Yes, everybody do. Very good, children. Hats off to you. Now let's get back the sources. We had archaeological sources and we had literary sources. Okay, so let's go with archaeological sources. Archaeological sources, the examples of archaeological sources were temples, palace, mosque, forts, tombs, coins, inscriptions, utensils, tools, weapons, ornaments and painting. You would have seen this, right, children? Your parents would have definitely taken you for a temple, or you could have just see on the walls and all that, you could see a lot of writings, that those are called as inscriptions. This we studied in our last class, in the last year, right, in grade 6. You would have studied what is inscription called as, isn't it, children? So these kind of things were very much helpful for people to jot down the history during that particular period. Okay, these are the archaeological sources. Now let's go to the literary sources. Okay, literary sources was literary. It means that it were the written records of the medieval period. They were found in plenty, isn't it? The reason why they were found in plenty was everything was written down in the paper. Okay, that is the reason we always tell you to write. Okay, so if you write something, you will kind of get a clarity of your concepts, and if you will be able to retain it for a longer time, isn't it, children? That is the reason we tell you to write. The olden days also, in the medieval period, like people used to, the travelers and all, they used to write a lot of history about the place where they normally go to. Okay, so they had lot of resources. Like few examples of these literary sources were the chronicles. Okay, a chronicle is nothing but it's a record of the rule of the king and the life at the court, like how the king ruled and how was the life at the particular dynasty. That is called as a chronicle. It is again a written record. Okay, so to write this chronicle we need chroniclers. Chroniclers is nothing but a person who write this chronicle is called as chroniclers. Okay, fine. Now let's see the famous important chronicles like Raja Tarangini, okay, Tariq e Ferishta, etc., like these. Okay, fine. Let's go with autobiographies and biographies. These are also the important literary sources of medieval period. Like for example, there were autobiographies about, like kind of Prithviraj Raso, and the biographies about Humayun Nama, all these. Okay, fine. Next were the travel logs. Travel logs is like nothing but a person, like we used to, whenever we visit places, right, we used to go buy some souvenirs, something, I mean, just to keep, just to have some remembrance about that particular place, isn't it? Like that, these travelers, they travel from one place to another place. They write a lot of travel logs that gives a lot of information about the place they visited and the people they met. Okay, few examples were like Marco Polo, Niccolo Conti, etc. Okay, children, so this is what we learned in our medieval world lesson. I hope you would be able to answer all the question answers. Now let's get back to the lesson, the regional kingdoms. Okay, so just go back to our first lesson, children. Like just remember what were the ruling dynasties during the early medieval period. The Pallas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas and Rajputs were the powerful ruling dynasties, isn't it, children? So now let's go with regional kingdoms 1. Okay, the second lesson in the history textbook, it is the regional kingdoms 1. Okay, fine. Now before we start with this lesson, we have to learn the keywords. Okay, children, please do remember the keywords because those are the important words which could make you to try to connect the concept in the forthcoming lecture session. Okay, fine. So the first one is vassal, Vassal, a ruler who is subordinate to the higher authority. This vassal is also, he is also a ruler, but this particular ruler will be a subordinate to the higher authority. He will be obeying to all the orders of his immediate superior. Okay, next is tripartite. It means that involving three parties or involving three parties powers. Okay, fine. Next one is sabha. Sabha means assembly which only the adult males could attend. Okay, sabha, assembly which only the adult males could attend. Fine. What is the next keyword? Advaita. Advaita means school of Indian philosophy. Advaita means school of Indian philosophy. Okay, so you would have definitely heard this word Advaita. Okay, Advaita people used to even name their children by this name Advaita. Okay, the next one is, or that is the general assembly of the village which all villages could attend. Okay, fine. So these are the keywords. Okay, children, please do remember these keywords and try to connect my lectures. Okay, fine. The next slide. Let's go back with the next slide. Let's see what are we going to learn in this lesson. Okay, what is this, the kind of content which is going to explain about the regional kingdoms 1. Okay, so there were many dynasties ruled during the early medieval period. Yes or no? What were the different dynasties which ruled during the early medieval period? Do you remember, children? It was Pallas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas and the Rajputs. Do you remember? Yes, there were 5 dynasties which ruled during the early medieval period. So what was the period, children? It started from 13th to 8th century to 13th century. Okay, so it started from 8th century to 13th century. Okay, so let's see in the north. Let's see who all ruled the early medieval period in the north. Okay, there were Rajputs, Ghaznavids. Please do concentrate on the spelling also, children. Ghaznavids, the Ghurids, the Pallas, and the Gurjara Pratiharas were powerful. So who are they? Come on, repeat after Samina ma'am. The Rajputs, Ghaznavids, Ghurids, the Pallas, and the Gurjara Pratiharas. They were powerful. Okay, in Deccan, let's see who all ruled. Okay, they were the Rashtrakutas and few smaller kingdoms. So it means that the Rashtrakuta is a bigger kingdom and there were other smaller kingdoms that I will tell you the names of those kingdoms in our forthcoming lecture. Okay, next one is the Pallavas, Pandyas and Cholas were the dominant powers in the south. Definitely you might be knowing it, isn't it, children? So they categorized into three different places. That is, first one was Deccan, first one was north, second one was Deccan, and the third one was south. Okay, fine. So first let's start with the North India. Let's see who ruled North India. The first one who ruled North India was the Rajputs. Okay, it is there in slide number North India, the Rajputs. Okay, Rajputs. The Rajputs, Rajputs. Okay, the word Rajput, where does it come from? It comes from the Sanskrit word Rajaputra. Okay, definitely the children who are learning Hindi, for sure you will understand the meaning of Rajaputra. Okay, so this word Rajput comes from the Sanskrit word Rajaputra, which means son of a king. That is, Raja means you all know it is king, and Putra means it is like son. Okay, so it means the son of the king. So what does the word Rajput means? Rajput comes from the Sanskrit word Rajaputra, which means son of the king. Okay, historians have different opinions regarding their origin. About whose origin? About Rajput's origin. Okay, some people believe that they were the descendants of the Central Asian tribes settled in India after the Hun invasion. What is descendants, children? A person who belongs to the same family as somebody who lived a long time ago. Okay, fine. Now let's get back to the lesson. So some believe that they were the descendants of the Central Asian tribes settled in India. And Rajputs, they by themselves said that they were the descendants of Kshatriyas, or the warrior class of Vedic times. Okay, and they claimed that they were the Surya Vanshi. Suryan means you all know it is sun. So it has been said that they were belonging to the sun family, or Chandra Vanshi. Chandra means you know that Chandran means it is moon, isn't it? So they also said that they belong to the moon family. Some Rajput clans also considered to be the part of fire family, that is the Agnikula. They believe that they were born out of sacrificial fire. Okay, so what is the history of this Rajput's children? Some believe that they were the kind of descendants of Kshatriyas. Okay, and they claim that they were the Surya Vanshi, it is belonging to the moon family. Chandra Vanshi belonged to the moon family, and Surya Vanshi belonging to the sun family. Okay, so and some said that they have been belonging to the fire family, that is Agni Kula. Okay, fine. So but actually some people believe that they were the descendants of the Central Asian tribes settled in India after the Hun invasion. Okay, fine. Let's now get back to the lesson with another topic. Okay, fine. Let's see the different Rajput clans. Okay, there are about 6 Rajput clans. Okay, children. It's in the slide number 4. Okay, so let's see the different Rajput clans. The first one is Tomars. Okay, Tomars. Next one is Chauhans. The third one is Solankis. The The fourth one is Paramaras. Fifth one is Gahadavalas, and the sixth one is Chandelas. Okay, so how many are there totally, children? There are 6 Rajput clans. Okay, the first one is Tomas, Chauhans, Solankis, Paramaras, Gahadavalas, and the Chandelas. These were some of the important Rajput clans. Okay, during which period? During the medieval period. Okay, fine. Let's come back the Tomas of Delhi. Let's see who is this Tomas of Delhi. The Toma rulers founded the city of Dillika. Okay, Dillika. It was old name of Delhi is Dillika. In the 8th century. Which century they found? In the 8th century. Please just note it down, children, because from like grade 7 upwards, you have to start writing the date lines also very clearly. Okay, in the 8th century, what had happened? Okay, the Toma rulers founded the city of Dillika in the 8th century. Later, the Chauhans annexed the territories. Okay, so later, who annexed the territories? Chauhans. So automatically it said that the Chauhans, they are going to take up this Tomas. Okay, fine. So next one comes is Chauhans. Chauhans of Rajasthan. The Chauhans are also known as Chahamanas. Remember, the other name of Chauhan is Chahamanas. Rule the region. Okay, rule the region around Delhi and Ajmer. Okay, these Chauhans, otherwise called as Chahamanas, they rule the regions Delhi and Ajmer. Okay, the most powerful ruler, I am sure that everybody will remember this ruler. It is none other than Prithviraj Chauhan. There were episodes in television which was telecasted to the children about Prithviraj Chauhan. Okay, so he defeated Muhammad Gauri. Who defeated? It was Prithviraj Chauhan who defeated Muhammad Gauri in 1191. So there is another date line, children. Please underline. In 1199 he defeated Muhammad Gauri. Okay, Muhammad Gauri in 1191. However, a year later, Gauri defeated and killed Prithviraj. Okay, about this history we will see in our next lecture. So please do concentrate on the most powerful ruler of Chahamanas, that is Chauhans. It was Prithviraj Chauhan. He defeated Muhammad, that is Muhammad Gauri in 1191. Okay, fine. And before we just get back to the next topic, let's see a person who has written a poem on Prithviraj Chauhan. Okay, children, now just listen to this small poem. Okay, actually it is a very long poem, children. Please just listen to few lines. सीना तान के जब खड़े पृथ्वीराज चौहान, सारे दुश्मनों की डर जाए जान, वो है बारात का मान पृथ्वीराज चौहान, राजात मेरी जान, उसके हाथों में देश था जैसे गुलिस्तान, उसके हाथों में जगमगाया सारा हिंदुस्तान. Like this the poem goes on. Okay, if you have time, please do just go read this poem, children, and just clarify your doubts on this poem also, because it is a very long poem on Prithviraj Chauhan. Okay, which was composed by the court poet. Okay, he was Chand Bardai. The court poet was Chand Bardai, and the poem had about 10,000 stanzas. How many stanzas did the poem had, children? It had about 10,000 stanzas. Okay, and the poem was composed by Chand Bardai. Do not forget, children, because there's a question like a long poem on Prithviraj was composed by a court poet. Okay, so you have to find out who is that court poet and find out the name of the poem also. Please just go Google it out and find out. I had already given you a small introduction about it. Okay, so the poem was composed by Chand Bardai and it had about 10,000 stanzas. Okay, fine. Let's get back to the Solankis of Gujarat. let's see what these Solanki rulers did. Okay, the Solankis were also known as Chalukyas. Okay, these people were all otherwise called as Chalukyas of Gujarat. In that, there was a most powerful ruler. His name was Siddharaja. What was the most powerful ruler's name? It was Siddharaja. Okay, he was the most powerful ruler of Solankis. Okay, that is otherwise called as Chalukyas. Okay, Chalukyas of which place? Gujarat. Okay, the Dilwara temples at Mount Abu and the Sun temple at Modhera were built by Solanki rulers. Okay, these were the important temples. Okay, the Dilwara temples at Mount Abu and the Sun temple at Modhera were built by the Solanki rulers. Okay, what was other name of Solanki's children? It was Chalukyas. Okay, fine. Let's get back to the Nada dynasties. It was Paramaras of Malwa. Which place? Paramaras of Malwa. In that, Bhoja Paramara. What is the name of the ruler? Bhoja Paramara was the powerful ruler. Okay, Bhoja Paramara was the powerful ruler of Malwa. Okay, and his capital was Dhar. Whose capital? It was Malwa's capital was Dhar. Okay, the Nilankanteshwara temple at Udaipur was built by the Paramaras. Which temple? What is the name of the temple? It was Nilankanteshwara temple at Udaipur was built by the Paramaras. Okay, fine. Now could you find out, children? There are a lot of temples which were being built by these rulers. They were all what kind of sources? They were all the very good archaeological sources. Very good, children. Next one is Gahadawalas of Kanauj. The Gahadawalas ruled the region around Kanauj. Okay, the Gahadawala king Jayachandra. Who was a powerful ruler there? Jayachandra. He was defeated by Muhammad Ghori in 1194. Okay, this king Jayachandra, he was the most powerful ruler of Gahadawalas of Kanauj and he defeated Muhammad Ghori in 1191. Okay, fine. The first one we saw was the Tomas of Delhi. Okay, and the next one was Chauhans of Rajasthan. Who was a famous ruler over there? It was Prithviraj Chauhan. Next one was Solankis of Gujarat. Very good. The other way is called as Chalukyas of Gujarat. Who was a powerful ruler there, children? Siddharaja was the most powerful ruler. Next one we saw was Paramaras of Malwa. Okay, so who was the powerful ruler there? He was Bhoja Paramara. Okay, next one is Gahadawalas of Kanauj, and who was a powerful ruler there? Jayachandra. Okay, so then that particular Jayachandra, the king Jayachandra, was defeated by Muhammad Ghori in 1194. Okay, see, we saw another date line, children. 1191. What had happened there? Okay, who defeated Muhammad Ghori in 1191? It was Prithviraj Chauhan. Okay, the next date line which we are going to see is 1194. That is that King Jayachandra was defeated by Muhammad Ghori. Okay, Muhammad Ghori. Please do concentrate on the spellings also, children. Muhammad Ghori in 1194. So okay, so what had happened between these 3 years? 92, 93, isn't it? 91 to 92, 92 to 93. So what had happened between these 2 years? We will see about that in our later lectures. Okay, so next one comes as Chandelas of Bundelkhand. Okay, the Chandelas were the rulers of land between Yamuna and the Narmada rivers. Okay, between Yamuna and the Narmada rivers. You know both these rivers, right, children? Yamuna and Narmada. Those particular rivers, in that particular river there's a land, isn't it? That particular land was being kind of ruled by Chandelas of Bundelkhand. Okay, the Khajuraho is the capital of Chandela rulers. Okay, Khajuraho, Khajuraho. I'll repeat, Khajuraho. Okay, was the capital of the Chandela rulers. It has many beautiful temples built by the Chandelas. In this, the powerful ruler was Krithivarman. Who was a powerful ruler, children? It was Krithivarman who was the powerful ruler of which dynasty? Chandelas of Bundelkhand. Very good. Okay. So wow, let's just like kind of quickly say the Rajput clans. Come on, start, children. The first one was Thomas of Delhi. Very good. The next one was Chauhans of Rajasthan. Super. The third one was Solankis of Gujarat. Yes. The fourth one was Paramaras of Malwa. Yes. The fifth one was Gahadawalas of Kanoj. Okay. The sixth one was Chandelas of Bundelkhand. So please do remember, if I question you like what were the Rajput clans during the medieval period, you should be able to answer all these six Rajput clans. Okay, fine. Now like you had clearly understood who were the Rajput clans and who were the powerful rulers of this Rajput clans, isn't it, children? Like we have to just kind of go google out the king's name and just have a check on their pictures also, children. You will get to see a lot of pictures about them. These were all, we didn't have photographies that time, isn't it? So we just all the paintings. Okay, these are all been painted by the people, those people who are very good with artwork. Those people used to kind of pencil sketch the kings. Okay, those people will do all these work. That is the reason we are able to even still have a look at all these kings. The next one was the Ghaznavids. Okay, the Ghaznavids. Fine. Please do listen, children. From 1000 onwards, okay, from 1000th century onwards, many invaders. What does this word invaders means? Invaders means attackers. Entered India across the mountain passes in the northwest. Okay, many people started coming inside India. Okay, in the northwest. Mahmud, Mahmud, and it like older name was actually Muhammad Gori. Okay, it was Muhammad. This is Mahmud, Mahmud. Okay, the ruler of Ghazni led the first series of invasion. Who was the first attacker who came inside India? It was Mahmud. Okay, the ruler of Ghazni. The ruler of Ghazni. That is why they are called as Ghaznavids. Okay, let's see a short history about Mahmud of Ghazni. Okay, children. Let's see a short history. Okay, Mahmud of Ghazni. Mahmud was the ruler of Ghazni, now in Afghanistan. Okay, Mahmud of Ghazni was the ruler of Ghazni, now in Afghanistan. He needed a large army to make Ghazni the most powerful kingdom in the region. He wanted to make his kingdom very very powerful. Okay, so what he did, he wanted a large army, isn't it, to fight against the enemies. He wanted a large army. You would have definitely seen in the movies, right? People used to come with elephants in the horse, and they had lot of boats. They had lot of bombs and all those things, right, in order to kill their enemies. Like that, this Mahmud of Ghazni also wanted to expand his army. Okay, so what he did, he had heard about the wealth of the kingdoms of northern India. He had heard about the North India, like how much of wealth that the North India had. When he had heard about this wealth, he wanted to attack India. Okay, he wanted to attack India. So he decided to raid India to collect money to raise a large army. See how very selfish children, isn't it? So kind of like he wanted to expand his army. So what he did, he kind of attacked India. So he raided India to collect money to raise his large army. So in the span of 26 years, how many years, children? 26 years. That is from 1000 he started his journey in India. From 1000 to 1026, Mahmud invaded India 17 times. How many times, children? 17 times this Mahmud invaded India. Okay. So for what? To expand his, what is that? To expand his large army. Okay, he wanted to expand his army. So what he did, he kind of attacked India, and he was kind of being in India for 26 years, and he invaded India for 17 times from 1000 to 1026. His early raids were against the Hindushahi rulers of Punjab. Okay, Hindushahi rulers of Punjab. What did he do there? He defeated ruler Jaipal and Anandpal and got a large tribute from them. Okay, he defeated two rulers. That was, first one was Jaipal, another one was Anandpal, and got a large tribute. So much of tribute from them. Okay, so he also attacked the rich temple towns of India. Oh my God, he's again kind of attaching the kind of attacking the rich temple towns of India. He raided Madura and Kanuj in 1018 and Somnath in 1026. Okay, first what did he do? He kind of raided the Hindushahi rulers of Punjab. So he defeated Jaipal and Anandpal and got a lot of tribute from them. And the next raid was he attacked the temple towns of India, isn't it? So it is like he was kind of he wanted to expand his army. That is the reason he was kind of attacking India for how many times? 17 times, from 1000 to 1026, almost 26 years. Okay, so he attacked the rich temple towns of India. He raided Mathura and Kanuj in 1018. So after attacking the temple towns, he raided Mathura and Kanuj in 1018 and Somnath in 1026. Okay, why did he just go kind of raided all these temples, children? Because these temples had like lot of precious gems embedded in the temple walls. Okay, he wanted to take out all the gems and he wanted to expand his army. Okay, Mahmud carried away all the booty to Ghazni, where he built a beautiful mosque, library and museum. So what all he built? He built a beautiful mosque, library and a museum. He kind of invaded from India and he built in his own place. This is not at all fair, isn't it? Right? He had built a mosque, library and a museum. And Mahmud, after invading India for 17 times with a span of 26 years from 1000 to 1026, he died in 1030. Okay, 1030 he died. Who died? It was Mahmud of Ghazni. Okay, who died, children? It was Mahmud of Ghazni. Okay, could you see his picture? Just take your textbook, children. In page number 11, you could see the picture of Mahmud of Ghazni. Could you see? Kind of he's wearing a green turban with a brown beard and all that. Isn't it? He was also a very powerful ruler of Ghaznavids. Okay, a very powerful ruler who led the first invasion to India. Okay, children, shall we have a quick recap of this lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, fine. I'll just, quickly recap the lesson. You please listen to the lecture now. Fine, children? Okay, this lesson's name is Regional Kingdoms 1. What is the name of the lesson, children? Regional Kingdoms 1. Okay. So, in this regional kingdom, many dynasties ruled the medieval period. Okay. Let's see few of the dynasties. That is, the first one was Rajputs, Ghaznavids, Ghurids, the Pallas and the Gurjara Pratyaras were powerful. Okay. In north. Where were they powerful? In north. Who were there? Rajputs, Ghaznavids, Ghurids, the Pallas and the Gurjara Pratyaras were powerful in north. Let's see in Deccan. They were the Rashtrakutas and few smaller kingdoms. What about south? It is Pallavas, Pandyas and Cholas were the dominant powers in the south. Okay, fine. Let's come back to North India. Okay, what does this word Rajput means? The word Rajput comes from the Sanskrit word Rajaputra, which means the son of a king. Okay, historians, they had believed and kind of accepted their origin of Rajputs in different ways. Some said that they are the descendants of the Central Asian tribes, okay, after the Hun invasion. And some Rajputs by themselves, they claimed that they belong to Suryavanshi family. And some Rajputs, they claimed to say that they belong to Chandravanshi family. And some said that they belong to Agni family. Agni means fire, okay. So they were born out of sacrificial fire. That is how the Rajputs, the origin is being framed. Now let's see the different Rajput clans. How many Rajput clans are there? Very good. There are 6 Rajput clans. The first one is the Tomas, second one is Chauhans, third one is Solankis, fourth one is Paramaras, then Ghadawalas and Chandelas were some of the important Rajput clans during the which period? Medieval period. Okay, fine. Now just let's listen to Thomas of Delhi. Okay. So what is the other name of Delhi, children? It is Dilli Ka. In which century it was been named in 8th century. Okay, who annexed this? The Toma rulers been annexed with which territory? With the Chauhans. Okay, Chauhans annexed their territories. Okay, what is the other name of Chauhans? It is Chahmanas. Okay, which region did they rule? They ruled Delhi and Ajmer. Okay, the powerful ruler of Chauhans is Prithviraj Chauhan. Prithviraj Chauhan. Prithviraj Chauhan defeated whom? He defeated Muhammad Ghori in which year, children? 1191. However, a year later, Ghori defeated and killed Prithviraj also. Okay, so did we remember the poem which was written on Prithviraj? Okay, who was the poet, children? It was Chand Bandai. Okay, and how many stanzas were there in the poem? It was almost 10,000 stanzas. How many stanzas? 10,000 stanzas. Very good. Let's get back to Solankis of Gujarat. Solankis were also known as, what is the other name? Chalukyas of Gujarat. Very good. Who was the powerful ruler of Solankis of Gujarat? It was Siddharaja. Who was the powerful ruler? Siddharaja was the most powerful ruler. There were a lot of rulers, but on that particular group, Siddharaja was the most powerful ruler. What were the temples these Solanki rulers built? It was Dilwara temple at Mount Abu and the Sun temple at Modhera, Gujarat were built by the Solankis of Gujarat. Okay, next one is Paramaras of Malwa. Okay, who was a powerful ruler? It was Bhoja Paramara was a powerful ruler. What is this capital? It was Dhar, Dhar, Dhar. And which temple was built by this Paramaras? It was Kanteshwara temple. Nila Kanteshwara temple at which place in Udaipur? Okay, was built by the Paramaras. Next one is Gahadawalas of Kanauj. Okay, Gadawalas of Kanauj. Who was a powerful ruler in this, children? It was King Jayachandra. Okay, Gadawala king was King Jayachandra, and who defeated him? Muhammad Ghori in 1191. Okay, fine. Next one was Chandelas of Bundelkhand. That is, Chandelas were the rulers between the land from Yamuna and the Narmada. Okay, so Khajuraho was the capital of Chandela rulers. It has many beautiful temples built by the Chandelas. Kritivarman was the most powerful ruler of this dynasty. Okay, fine. Next one we learned was Ghaznavits. Okay, who was the popular ruler of Ghaznavits? It was Mahmud. M-A-H-M-U-D. Please do not forget, children. M-A-H-M-U-D. Mahmud. Okay, he was the ruler of Ghazni who led the first series of invasions. What was the first series of invasion? From 1000 to 1026. What does invader mean? Invader means attacker. Okay, fine. So how did he come inside India? He actually passed through the mountains in the northwest. Okay, who came inside India? with the help of mountains? It was Mahmud. Okay, next one is Mahmud of Ghazni. Mahmud was the ruler of Ghazni, now in Afghanistan. Okay, what did he wanted to do with his army? He wanted to have a large army. So what did he do? He kind of invaded India for how many times? 17 times with a span of 26 years, from 1000 to 1026. Okay, his early raids were against Hindu Shahi rulers of Punjab. He defeated Jayapal and Anandpal and got a large tribute from those rulers. Okay, then what did he do? He also attacked the rich temple towns. What were the temples which he attacked? He attacked Madura, Kanuj and Somnath. Okay, Madura, Kanuj and Somnath. The Somnath temple, where is it? It is in Gujarat. Okay, was stripped of all his wealth. Even the precious stones, what did he do? He didn't even leave the precious stones which are there on the walls of the temples. He just pulled out all the precious stones and took it to his place, okay, to Ghazni, where he built a beautiful mosque, library and a museum. Okay, children. So when did he die? He died in 1030. Okay. So this is what is the lesson the regional kingdoms mean. So we will be like learning about the next part of the lesson in the next week. So I want you all to completely read the lesson, children, and kind of find out the difficulty. Like if you don't understand any topic or maybe certain concept over here, please just get back to me, children. Okay, please do just read everything and get back to me. If you're not able to understand, I'm there to help you out to clarify all your doubts. Okay, but the major thing in this lesson is you have to definitely memorize the names and the date line. Okay, history is meant for date line, children. Please do not omit it. Start learning from now on, so that will be easy for you. Just in every lesson you will not be having more than 10 date lines. So if you start learning date lines, 10 date lines at least, for sure you will be able to answer any GK questions later too. Okay, please children do not just omit all this. Just concentrate on this lesson, the regional kingdom. So I hope you had really got a constructive learning now. Please just try to answer the book back questions also, children, whatever the topic which I had taught. And if you are able to answer the book back question, I'll be very very happy, because I could understand that you will be able to get through the concept. Okay, so I'll get back with my another lecture about the Ghurids, the battles of Terrain, and the struggle of Kanuj in my forthcoming videos. Okay, children, fine. Have a good day, children. Please just relax and listen to this lecture. Thank you, children. Bye bye.